Tuesday, February 19th meeting of the HDC with TJ, Val, Steve, John, and myself here. Ray or Abby will not be here,
And no Jesse.
and Jesse is away also. So, could I have
There's
a motion to approve
hold
the
on, there's
agenda?
a few changes, Diane.
A few changes, okay?
You'll see, well, do you wanna take off hospital things?
I'll leave that up to you, I don't.
Okay, we can take off number 4 and 5 on signs, Nantucket Cottage Hospital.
Okay.
Okay,
They weren't gonna come, they couldn't make it. Number 3 is coming off of old business, 28 Lily Street.
yeah, I have a line through that one.
Number 11, 29 Rhode Island Ave,
I have
which
a
is
line through that
Mr.
one.
Watterson's project.
And Christina Brown at 15,
Correct. Yep.
and that's it?
Those are your changes.
All right,
Don, would you go over that one time? I can cross them off.
Sure. Number 4 and 5 on signs.
Sound 4 and 5, right, they've been pulled?
Yeah, yep, you can take
Okay.
them off.
Thank you.
Number 3 on old business.
28 Lily Street, right,
They should already have a line through them. Number 11
right,
and number 15.
15, okay. Thank you.
All right.
okay. So now, if I can have a motion to approve the agenda as noted,
So moved.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, our first one is public comment. But we don't seem to be too many of us here, so I guess there are not hearing any, we'll continue. The consent, we have one, Joyce Johnson, Chris Carey, and Sankety Golf.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Ruth,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
all of them are Ruth. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstained?
Any abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention. The next one is signs. I
Kevin's
saw the
here.
sign man, I saw the sign man.
Sign man.
Okay.
I did. How are you?
Hello, Kevin, welcome.
All right.
So what you gonna tell us, Kevin?
Numbers 1 and 2 and 3 were all approved with comments.
Okay.
Motion approved 1 through 3 with comments per the sign committee.
Alrighty, and
that-
4 and 5 we are holding,
That's right.
Yep.
They're gonna come back.
okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Alright,
Motion to approve
motion to approve
Hey, Lucy.
1, 2, and 3,
or Steve?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to hold 4 and 5.
All those in
They were
favor?
taken off the
Well,
agenda.
those came off the agenda.
Oh, they came off, sorry.
Okay. Alright, so our next thing is Kennel Ames, 5 Knobs Way, an addition. Do we have anybody representing us? Should we hold it? There it is. I hear him.
We do. You have McLaughlin, Oliver, and Watterson.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
How you doing?
So you just don't want people to come back?
Did you put the mock-up up? Yes. I didn't see it.
That's really because it's not visible from the public way. We've got photographs for you. You can see a tiny, tiny bit from behind a tree on Thurston's Way. And we feel that due to the lack of visibility, this could be approved.
I grew up on Thurston's Way, so I know you could see.
Yeah, we have one view just from Thurston Way.
We also were able to find some other examples of one-story buildings with cupolas.
On the secondary mass?
Well, it's on a small mass. Here's another one. The owner did The owner did build the mock-up for you, that was there, and we went out there and took photos. The only place you're gonna see it is from behind a tree on Thurston's.
Did you take a picture of the mock-up?
Can you get a picture?
Oh, I
Or
thought-
just give it from
Yeah.
Thursday.
These
what
are
about that
examples.
chimney
Yeah,
cap?
it's right there, Val, from Thurston's Way.
Oh, yeah, right there.
That's the only way, that's the only view you're gonna see of it.
But you
Either
can see.
Val, you or John needs to chair the application.
Yes, it can, a little
Oh.
bit.
Why?
It's you, John, and TJ sitting on the application.
Oh, she can't just,
Nope. You can't miss the first hearing of an application and read back in.
I don't know. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was here the last time, when I was here.
No,
This was heard last week.
Gotta get the name right. This Kennel has changed his last name to Pendleton.
ask him, he's right behind you.
I know. But it's under the name of Sharon Kennel.
What is it?
Games.
Teams?
There.
Good job.
So we've all had a chance to look at it, and I think this is a reasonable request that we probably see it approved through lack of visibility in this location. That way it would give you something to hang your hat on.
Well, I think it's limited visibility, but I think it's still, we could honestly say that it's limited, make a case to approve it.
It'll be even less when the leaves grow in the summertime. I mean,
John, what do you say? It's just you, me, and TJ.
Okay, my comments on one thing, is the height of that cupola and where it is, it's not appropriate for this style of a house. I think they should take a height. And these F windows, what are they? Are they fixed?
Yes,
F windows are fixed.
F windows, yeah.
Oh, I thought she said they were gonna open.
And I think
They should. Oh, yeah. In the cupola, you mean, John?
cupola-
Yes,
cupola.
yes. They're gonna be open.
Huh?
They're gonna open. They're for ventilation for the stove.
Hello, on the cupola?
Yeah.
No.
They'll be motorized. They'll open and close with the weather.
Wait a minute now, let me
Yeah.
get where I am.
Yeah. Here. These.
All right,
To these.
so how do they open?
There's an electric motor.
No, do they tilt inwards?
No, they tip out.
Why can't they tilt inwards like we would generally do?
Because the electric motor tips them out. When the rain sensor, because if the rain, it's on a rain sensor, John.
Right.
So they tip out. When the rain hits it, they automatically close. If
Okay,
it tipped in, it wouldn't close and you get water inside the house.
all right, let's go back. I don't think it's typical for this style of house,
Okay?
all right?
Yeah.
I think it should be eliminated. That's my opinion. We're getting too many of them on the wrong style of houses. If there was a barn, if we had the wood siding, you know, and that, it would probably look like a farmhouse, but not with the dormer, but anyway, the dormers are fine right now. I just think that ought to go. So moved.
TJ, what do you think?
And I agree with John, it's not quite appropriate, but I do think, John, visibility is limited and that we can maybe help him out on that.
Is there any way to make it smaller?
Well, we had it smaller, Val. Okay? Last week it was smaller, but it kind of looked like a pimple.
I don't recall that.
I thought it was
I thought it was
same.
this-
It was
yeah,
a single window last time.
I
I
think
mean, I can
that
go
would
to
be-
I can go to a single window. That's
And-
not an issue, okay? If you think that's gonna look better.
Like half of that size?
Yeah, just take one window out and squeeze it down a little bit.
I think that would be more in scale with what it's sitting on.
I think if it came, like, the height came down a little bit, to like more like one row of glass, could we do that?
But we reduced the size of the window,
Uh-huh.
okay? We don't wanna make it too small that it just seems kind of strange, okay? But I mean, we've reduced the size of the window. I can take one of the windows out, which would then make it smaller.
And that would also reduce it to 4 windows instead of 6.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that.
I think that would help.
Yeah, for sure.
I made a motion to approve without the cupola.
All right, all those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
We'll do that now.
I'd rather not see it, but I understand they need it for ventilation.
Consistency.
Right,
That's
you
what
are
we need.
consistent in that. John, what do you think about if it got smaller?
It's not typical of that style. That's what
No,
I'm
I
saying.
agree
The rest of the house is compatible to itself, but this is not. This is an odd item. That's what I'm saying. One of the questions, they're gonna put a fence around the gas tanks
They're existing.
on the west elevation?
They're existing now,
They're existing now.
just like that. Just like Just like that.
Well,
We have no problem reducing the scale of it to one window, to go to
That-
6 to 4.
That's the motion.
it died for lack of,
I'm sorry?
Yeah. What is the vote? Did he vote nay?
I abstain on that one.
vote 1 against 1?
That's a tie. Oh, yeah.
How does that work?
It dies.
Yeah, it doesn't, it fails.
But another motion can be made, right?
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve with the cupola reduced to 4 instead of 8 windows. And reduced in size accordingly,
Because of,
due to lack of limited visibility.
okay, all those in favor of TJ's motion? Aye.
Okay, so that's gonna be through staff.
John's,
Yeah,
no.
that can be
Opposed?
Okay,
through staff.
I have no problem going through staff, reduce the size, that's fine. Thank you very much, yeah.
you wanna write it?
2 to 1.
No. Don't care where it's from.
I don't say anything, Johnny. I know you.
Okay.
You
Okay.
what you say you are.
The problem is,
Okay.
the designers and architects that come in, all of them are speaking, you know? They always want something different than they only want. You know, there's a different
With the
height.
cupola reduced
I
to
can
4
explain that.
windows and reduced in size.
Essentially
We
half
gotta get
the
more
size of
consistency
what it
when you
is.
do blank guidebook. No problem, take care.
And due to lack of this,
I agree with you with the farmhouse so much that when I went and I started Googling and I looked for the farms and the barns, and you're very true, when they did come because of the cows were dying and that was why they were created to keep the cows and the chickens alive because the farmers would close in and all the gas needed to go someplace. But when Mr. Jim Crecker and Pennell built the house, on the design, it said it was a farmhouse because he couldn't afford to build a whole house. We kept adding on. And our original designs did say that we were a farmhouse, like
Doesn't
the
need-
original
I'm
farmhouse.
sorry, it doesn't need an explanation. The vote was taken, you're okay.
Yeah, no, but I like
Thanks,
that you would
I
maybe
appreciate
go
it.
appreciate and look up the whole farm, reason why the farmers started it.
Thank you,
Keep cows alive.
appreciate it.
Yeah, but it's not a barn, it's a house.
No, it isn't, the farmhouses have them too.
You got it approved, so you're good.
Well, I thank you, and if you'd all like to come to dinner when it's all done, I'd love to cook you all.
Great, I didn't vote on it, I'll be there.
I will cook you a great meal on my naga.
Even better. Thank you.
Okay,
The
what's,
next one is Linda Fraker, who's the board, what is,
It hasn't been heard yet, so everyone can
Okay.
sit.
okay.
everybody plays.
Everybody's a winner.
Winner chicken dinner.
What are you doing?
Here for dinner.
Been traveling. Bought an Airstream trailer. Been doing a lot of traveling
Living the life.
over the country.
Where'd you go?
all over the West Coast.
You know what? It looks like it agrees with you. Good for you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mark.
All right, it won't be bad, won't be long.
Do we have any photos?
Is this built yet? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Would you give
That's
us
my
an
inspection.
explanation, was the chimney removed for what reason?
I would absolutely do that. If there's any prelude to opening the project, then I'd
No,
like
I
to hear
have
from the
no-
staff.
I have no hashtag notes on it, so
Okay, okay.
I am asking you what you asked before.
The the application before you is to deal with two as-built conditions that were subject to review when John did his inspection on this project that took place a number of years ago. The chimney that was removed was a chimney that replaced the original chimney in the early 60s when they removed the fireplaces from the home prior to the ownership of Linda and Ford Fraker. Ford has passed away in the meantime, and Linda is the sole owner of the home. Why the chimney was taken down without your approval is a surprise to me. Obviously, it did happen, and I am here to, I suppose, justify its removal, if nothing else. I wasn't a part of the decision to do this, but I was the designer of record for the project at the time it took place. Chris Fraker, who was part of the family, did all the renovations, did an excellent job, and apparently made a decision that the chimney was not of any historic value and removed it. The only reason we know that or that we surmise that the chimney was rebuilt in 1963, 64 for a wood stove when the fireplaces were removed, we found a newspaper article of November 1963 that dealt with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It was in one of the walls. That's the only indication that I have of record that this is not an original chimney to the home. And the fact that the fireplaces were removed would indicate the same.
What about the front door trim?
The trim over the front door was just a wider lintel over the top of the door.
Yeah.
And it was just different from what the drawings were, and John picked it up, and, you know, it's, I think, a de minimis change when all is said and done. But that's his job.
And what is the age of the house?
1830.
It okay.
So,
You want to
Madam Chair.
begin, John?
Yes, Mr. Hedden,
Yes,
there was just an as-built without a permit. What was the fine on it?
it should be 10 times. The fee, I
10
don't see the
times.
fee written down here.
10 times application fee.
Jesus.
It should be 50 times 10, which would be 500. I can say a few things too. As I spoke to Mark today a few times, they'd come in before this change to the house and had a different addition approved, which showed the chimney gone in that approval. And then they came back later and got this approval with the dormers on the front. And it showed the chimney on the drawings, which is, you know, why I cited them for.
Well, it may have been suggested to them in the first application that the chimney should be there in the house of 1840. whether-
No, it was approved as
It was approved
removed.
without a chimney in the
Oh,
first
back then,
iteration.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a funny looking house, I will tell you that.
It was really pretty
And
bizarre.
then it was the first kind of renovation was approved more of a big colonial style and the chimney was gone in that, and then they came back, I don't know, a few years later or something, and had the dormers on the front approved, which actually surprised me.
Well, the dormer on the front existed, but it went all the way
The
out
one
to
that-
the end gables, and what we did, we cut it, moved it
Right,
back in,
right.
and then added an overhang, so it looked more representative of what a traditional dormer mast would be on an unlikely story and a half building. Because it was, the sixties renovation was just abominable.
I'm okay with this application.
Yeah, I like these, 3-bay houses on Mount Vernon, and it's a shame it doesn't have a chimney, but I'm okay with it too. It's 60s.
Johnny, what are you,
My comment is that the changes that were made without a permit are not unacceptable for the neighborhood. There's only 3 items on it, so I'll make a motion to approve it as
well,
it is.
I need to get Steve's,
It was the sixties, man. They did a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Crazy.
crazy bunch of people.
I have no concerns with what's before us today.
Okay, so can I have a motion
John,
to approve? Oh, what's your motion, Johnny?
Yes, the fine has been paid.
No, it has not been paid, no.
Pay the fine and to accept, to approve the application, is that is that good, John?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
aye.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Is there discussion on the motion, please?
yes,
Is the permit open on this?
No.
Okay, because if it was, I was gonna say then there's no basis for it.
Well, I mean, we're trying to close it out, and part of this is the inspection with John didn't pass, so that we I would say the permit is still open in that respect.
it's not.
Everything else has been completed,
Right,
so the last thing that we need to do is get John's endorsement.
okay,
On
so
the
that's
project.
4, 2, 1. 4, 4, 1,
Who's opposed?
abstaining,
Who's,
I'm abstaining,
you're abstaining?
yes,
4 in
4
favor,
in favor, and 1
1
abstention.
abstention. Thank you.
With paying the fine.
No, that is to approve the $500 fine and the
Okay,
approval of your
all right.
request. Right?
Yeah, I still wasn't finished though, because
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to be clear, if there's an open building permit, right, the process, the procedure has been, or the policy's been, that it's not finable.
Right, but it isn't.
But if
it
there's
open?
not an open building permit, otherwise, they're not actively constructing, then it's finable. So I just asked for the purposes of consistency, that's why I brought it up.
Okay,
And I understand the consistency on it. I think there's a certain level of people coming back for revisions after, well, obviously this is a revision as well, but,
Right.
minor window changes and such. But, I mean, I think there's such things as taking down chimneys, which might be more, more
Along those
consideration
that happen,
taking
you mean.
towards as-built and such. I mean, if a wing of a house is demoed and then is later revised as part of some renovation work, well, I think that's kind of an as-built, alterations, I don't know that I'd really, I think that could really be considered less of, in the realm of being an as-built.
So you're saying you think this should be finable, or you're saying you think this shouldn't be?
I think it should be considered as such, yeah, I mean, up to the commission. I mean, it's not a real old chimney, but, not original to the house, but.
Right.
but it was taken down without any,
Correct.
by somebody who should have known better, really.
Okay, I don't want to belabor it, I just wanted to kind of have an understanding where we were, where the permit process was.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're all set then?
Yeah.
All right, so it's 4,
I'm gonna
Four.
vote no,
Keith votes no, I abstain, and we've got 3, 4.
not on the approval portion, but on the
On the fine.
principle of the fine, I just feel.
Okay, so our next one is Rabbit Run
We still
Road.
pass.
But I need to pay the fine,
Yeah,
$450, since I
Yes,
paid $50 initially.
correct, yep.
Thank you.
Do you wanna read that?
Makes you wanna get back in the airstream.
April 1st.
I'm dealing with Hunter.
Robert Ron? You said you're tired.
Robert Run.
No,
What's
no,
the
he said
word
he's
on
been
that?
traveling in an airstream.
There's no one here for them.
Nobody here
Diane.
for that.
Okay, so we're gonna hold a rep.
Motion to hold 4 and 5 for representation. Aye.
Okay, and 4 and 5, so we're holding these. Alright. It's time to go home.
Nice.
15 North Wharf.
Madam Chair? May I-
Yes,
May I trade 7 and 8 for 6 in hopes that the engineer?
I'm sorry, could you speak up? I can't hear you.
what do you
Come on
want?
up, Nate, come on up.
You wanna hear
Art
25 Pine Street.
Sparrow may be here any second. And so I was asking if we could go to 7 and 8 first in hopes that he comes here.
I think that's reasonable.
Motion to, move number 6 on the agenda to, after number 8. If that makes sense.
And I am not sitting on this one.
You need a vote for that, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Aye.
aye.
Alright,
Thank you.
alright, so what have we got? Have we got the new drawings? Yeah. There we go.
Thank you.
There were drawings he submitted, so some other little insert part or something of that.
Oh, on the bottom, that's.
Do you have any HTAB comments on this, or?
I see it reading paper.
Originally, oh, I'm sorry, we're on Pine, sorry. The last one. Yeah, so this wasn't open because there was a quorum problem, so,
Okay, this, so we don't have anything, Angus, highly stylized, way out of context, redesigned, 6-pitched roof could go away if possible. They didn't have a quorum, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, we didn't
Oh,
last
oh,
week.
we didn't have. Well, I wasn't here. So, that's what we got, Nathan. What would you like to tell us about it?
I would like to say that,
you,
the chairman had recused himself because he's in a butter. And, had some informal discussions with another member afterward. And decided immediately to do a back pocket, which I know traditionally you don't care for, but what the architect, if you don't mind my submitting this, Madam Chair, there is the front elevation. The elevations are relatively the same.
You have one for all the rest of the table?
I'm sorry, I
I'm not on
only
it.
have the one.
you can sit on it, it hasn't been opened.
Oh, it hasn't? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So, want me to pass
Do
it?
you have pictures
Yes,
of the-
please, if I could point out that there's also an added stair on this side. Okay, so the main
This is the
changes.
house now.
Oh, I know it well.
Steve,
I just talked to him. Let me read a letter,
Okay,
Thank you.
from Andy Cowherd.
Change.
It says, my wife and I own the house at 25B Pine Street, next door to the property at 25A Pine Street that is being remodeled. We have owned our home for over 30 years. We support the steps being taken to upgrade what has been a neighborhood eyesore for years. We were sent some of the original plans for the upgrade of the property in a certified letter that was mailed on February 5th. We did not receive the letter in time to comment before the meeting on the 6th. Subsequent to that mailing, we had the opportunity to speak with the contractor, the property owner, and Nathan McMullen of McMullen and Associates. I understand my wife spoke to you last week. In addition, we've had the opportunity to view a new rendering of the front of the property that we understand constitutes a revised plan that will be considered by the HDC. We are very pleased with the look of the property and support the approval of the plan. The changes that the owners are proposing are consistent with other front doors and other home fronts on Pine Street and Fair Street neighborhoods. We hope the plans will be approved so that the new owners can proceed with the renovation in time to complete them before summer. Continuing construction during the summer months would be disruptive to the neighborhood. Well, first of all, they're not allowed to construct in the summer. So that takes care of that.
You can there,
Drawing of
downtown.
Yeah, the
It's only
proportions.
downtown. You can do that.
So this is the new front?
It is, and if I may just point out, as you pass that around, the changes, they've kept the Greek Revival, removed the front portico, made the corner boards into 1x8s instead of 1x12s, and simplified them into boards without detailing, and basically made the head trim of the doors and windows into a more simple head trim instead of a splayed one. When I first, if I may say, I'm not the designer on this, it's an architect from New York, as well as the clients I've never met, but when we first spoke about my repping them or possibly working for them, I had discouraged the Greek Revival in this location because I thought the HDC might find it too high style, and it might be a little harder to approve than just dressing it with shingles and our standard trim. The owners continued to tout this style because they liked it. They wanted to make the building appear more formal and be more distinctive than just simple shingles and trim. So
You
they
know
asked.
this was a paint shop,
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know a little bit about that.
Mr. Butler
Mr. Butler,
was a painter.
right? His father. Nevertheless, it has become this building over the years. And so the owners asked me to research to make an argument for the Greek Revival, which I was surprised that there were, of the 44 houses from Main Street to Silver Street, 10 Greek Revivals. Probably doesn't surprise you all, you know them. Of these 10 houses, only 3 of them have gables which face the street, which is proper for a Greek Revival. The other ones are just what someone did when they got some money over the years. They dressed their house in Greek Revival like many Nantucketers did. Federal style became popular, they dressed it Federal. Greek Revival, they dressed it Greek Revival. Most of these, if not all of the 10, are older buildings from what I can tell. So I think also that because this house's gable faces the street and is a 7 and 12 pitch, which is the pitch of the Greek Revival in the first place, that it's appropriate to consider it, if you would. And the architect did simplify the details that I mentioned so that it isn't as high style. I think the main revision that might make it more palatable to you, if you can see the difference between what was originally submitted, is the removal of that portico and the simplification of some of these details. I would like to also point out that in the back pocket scheme, and I'm embarrassed I didn't bring at least 4, there is that side shingled stair to grade because it is indeed a 2-dwelling unit, and the second dwelling or second store doesn't have a second means of egress. So that's a code issue.
Is that on the north elevation?
No, it's right
South.
South elevation?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And,
Yeah,
again, I don't know if the pictures that did you have the pictures of I thought we submitted these, but
I
these
have
are
a
the
picture
pictures.
of the original.
These are of the Greek revivals on Pine Street from Maine to Silver.
Tell me
Thank-
why, just for interest, is that you have removed so many windows?
Well, I didn't ask them that. That's their design. They of course have taken away the garage, and that's adding a window. The other is programmatic. They have decided this is what they want for their new design. As best I can tell you, I didn't make it a point of questioning everything.
No, I forgot that somebody else
Yeah, they did.
started off with this.
I did question the Greek revival, but after they asked me to do their homework on the street, I found that it was more appropriate than I originally thought, and I'm hoping for them, because they really like this, and the neighbors also like the design, that you consider it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Steve, would you like to begin?
Sure, I concur with, H.
Okay. And we remember what Ace had said, which was way out of context, redesign, 6-pitch roof could go away if possible. They're not happy. So, TJ,
Can I see the, smaller drawing again? Might wanna come back to me.
okay, Johnny, what have you got to say?
Yeah, to change this, the front of this to a Greek revival does not make it a Greek revival. The changes that are made here, especially the portico over the door there, and the, what other photo?
Here's a what you call.
This is this house, but do we have photos of other?
No, yeah, there are others.
Nathan, do you know when it was,
1949, it says on.
it said, yeah, you think that's when it was,
The very
Yeah.
front, the
No.
very,
None of the houses, basically the immediate surrounding area, have this type of
Did it say?
portico change on it. So,
sorry, John, that was what we
I
removed.
did too.
wait a minute, I'm finished.
Okay.
All right. I'm saying that this, and this heavy entablishment up here is, it's not that heavy on the other houses. This is too heavy for this. And I just think it's gonna change the neighborhood to a degradation instead of an upbuild. Now, on the west elevation, is there, I notice, is that wall coming out?
No, sir. That's the existing wall.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you west. East is existing, west
No,
is being filled in above.
wait a minute. The question is, this here has a railing.
Correct,
Now you don't have a railing. What's
correct. That's being filled in.
that? Huh?
That's being,
That's what I'm asking. you
yes,
know?
sir.
This is gonna disappear, this is,
Yes.
but, and that wall is coming out?
No, sir. It's just being filled in.
Okay. That's all I'm interested in, I think. The change needs to be made on that front there, that portico and that background, they're not typical of this building, or the neighborhood. I see some of them are around, yes, I agree.
See these here?
Thank you.
May I address John's comments?
Yes, Nathan, what,
The half round has been changed to a 4-line. The entablature
Yeah.
is slightly less detailed. And I don't mean to contradict your knowledge, I would just simply say that most Greek revivals on Nantucket were not Greek revivals. The highest style ones, like on Main Street, had one house the Athenaeums, yes, they were built as Greek revivals,
Right.
but the others were dressed later.
So are you all set, John?
Yeah, you're taking away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows?
They are.
Thank you.
TJ.
I think that the full-scale drawings are a little bit too fancy for this far away from Main Street, but I think the smaller scale exhibit is an improvement. I'd just like to see maybe the side lights removed off that surround on the front door, and maybe the shutters removed off the pediment.
Maybe three of the windows and the bottom wood panel, does that strike you?
Yeah, that would be fine too, yeah.
Remove the shutters on the pediment window only.
Yeah.
And the side lights would be three with wooden panel down below. But I would take a motion to hold for revisions number 1, and I would also like this resubmitted to HACCP on the new thing. They have a problem with that staircase going up. I think that, we should have them look at it since they were quite sure about that. So if I could have,
Motion to hold for revisions
okay, and resubmission.
and resubmission to hash.
Alrighty, all those in favor, that,
It's the
when
Val,
we take this, it's on the floor.
So can I just get a clarification, discussion on the motion? David, this is what you're proposing now is the smaller set?
will be, yes.
Okay, because I was looking at the larger, so I generally concur with my colleague TJ's statements. And I just wanted to get clarification on what was being removed. Something was being
And the
removed.
portico.
The front portico on the east
That's removed in the east elevation
will be
proposed.
removed, yeah,
Yes,
proposed. I'm
okay.
sorry about this back pocket,
No, I just.
I'm embarrassed by it.
It's, no, it's just simply for clarification.
Okay.
That and the 3 windows will be at the front door with the bottom panels in a wood panel, not glass.
Okay, that was the part I was on. Okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
Steve,
That's very helpful.
All right, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed to that motion? Yes, Nate.
revisions, and what I'm feeling is I might have 3, I might have 2, but at least we're still in the Greek revival language vocabulary for now, and that's,
Explain to him also that if it's going to go to HACCP and then come back to us,
again,
it would be good if he included the previous drawing.
as well as the ridge existing, yes.
So that we can do,
Okay,
and we'll have the answer because he will be in touch with you as to why the removal of all those windows.
to explain the removal of the windows.
He did?
No, you're asking me
Yes,
to have him.
I would, just personally for my thing, I think to go
Well, I
from,
think he's gonna come up with a reason why he doesn't want them, because of his inside, but I guess the bigger deal is, are you gonna accept an elevation that size with only 3 windows?
Well,
Is it
no.
underfenestrated? Is it,
Yeah,
okay, that's what
3
you're saying.
windows, and the upper one, the earlier one, it had its full bunch of things. It's weird looking with the one window on the second floor and then the electric.
Madam Chair, which elevation are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about the north elevation.
Thank you.
That's the one that most of the windows are coming off of.
Okay,
Okay,
yes, I hear.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Unless he wants to come,
Fly over himself?
yes.
Then they wouldn't need me.
Should we hold number 8 to track with the house, the hardscape, or?
Oh, yeah, the hardscape was the brick.
brick driveway or brick,
brick additions around the house. Perhaps you wanna wait on that as well? I
yeah.
don't-
That would be good. So could I have a motion to
So-
have it number 8?
So moved.
All those in favor of tracking it with number 7? Aye. Okay, what,
I don't know.
what do you wanna do about North
They're
Wharf?
going back.
Could we go ahead, I suppose? He's
Okay.
not here, but I would like to go ahead.
All right, what is the present board on 15 North?
We have Polk, Coos, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Poll?
McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
So it's 4.
So we have everybody but TJ.
Nathan, we have a note to save the drawings in the
I
application.
put that.
Oh, that's for you. Oh, so do you want to, am I handing those out?
Yes, yep, because he just did
Thanks,
supplemental information, so.
I can write it in.
Well, then I don't know who did.
What is this?
That's just kind of the supplemental information that he provided, which I'm sure is elevations and
What church?
such, pictures. I think there's a rendering of like a photoshopped thing basically.
Maybe it's a different.
You don't want these photos?
Coons, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Okay. This is the total old report. What, do we have anything new?
If I might just reintroduce, Madam Chair, just take a moment to reintroduce these revisions.
Okay, we may
Okay.
have that.
I had asked Art Gasparo to be here, and we thought he would make it, to explain various elevations with regard to state, flood zone, etc. So I didn't study up on those, and I will do my best to answer the questions. Suffice it to say that, as you know, this area of Nantucket has been flooded twice in the past last year and the year before, I believe, safe to say they were flooded, and the water came up a foot above the first floor, basically 2 feet above grade. So the revisions to this building are to lift it, and yes, Rosalie Maloney, the owner, would like this attic 3rd floor because she plans on making this her permanent residence now. Even though she's owned it and she's never lived there, she would like to now make this her home, and this will be her bedroom on the 3rd floor attic. That said, the reason we're back after an approval on 9/25/18 is that I had convinced Rosalie to only lift the building a foot to the bottom of the structure, which, aside from what the state is going to say, is not enough to have water clear the structure of the 1st floor. She got nervous about that, asked me how to come up with 2 feet clear minimum. I said it was going to be a challenge, but what we did was we removed 3 inches between the 1st floor, the 2nd floor structure, and 3 inches between the 2nd floor and attic structure. In other words, I made those thinner. That took out 6 inches. We still had 6 inches to go, and I simply asked you if we may raise the building another 6 inches.
From what your original proposal.
From what we originally approved, what was approved.
Okay,
And therefore, in addition to that, we have changed the west stairs to curved to make it easier to float back and forth, and the 2nd floor to grade stairs, egress stairs, with a platform above, as I explained last week. Also, I'm sorry, you see in your packet an existing and renovated SketchUp. It's not from my computer, so it's not sophisticated or done with CAD. It's something I just kind of, as John says, is a little SketchUp to show existing and renovated.
I got some.
It's,
No.
it's not dead on accurate, I must say. It's just, to me, representative of what it would look like, and you had asked for this.
On this one,
Yes,
it's at the height that you are asking for now, right?
it is.
Okay. Now tell me, because my brain is somewhat out of, well, how much of the existing house we have before us tonight has been approved?
Everything
Are we
except
just down to the stairs
in 6 inches.
Right.
and 6 inches?
As you see, it's the second drawing. The top is existing, the second is what's approved, and the bottom is what we're asking for.
Okay,
I'll go.
okay,
The bulk of, for the changes Nathan's asking, I think are modest. He's adding simply 1 step at the stairs. And I think because of the run, you have to just have a landing. The other buildings there that have been raised have their doors floating. I know that's an oddity, but it seems as though that is something that's already happening there. And we did approve it 6 inches lower. I myself don't think I'm gonna go by and discern 6 inches, so I'm fine with this application.
okay. TJ,
I'm actually not on this one.
oh. Stephen,
My concerns remain. I think that the floating door of 3 feet or more above the grade is more than the others and atypical.
Oh, here.
okay, just wanted to pinpoint something.
One suggestion was to remove the exterior shower and stair from the rear, push the structure back such that you could create a landing, and that eliminated the necessity for the stair, which was a concern of various commission members.
I forgot about that. That was a good suggestion.
If we're making a determination based upon an image that's been photoshopped and the applicant's agent readily states is not accurate, and no offense to Nathan, I would want to see, an elevation of the 4 structures, 2 to either side, 5 structures, dead on. It doesn't have to be the neighboring structures. My suggestion doesn't include that they be highly detailed, but that the window, first floor window and door casings and corner boards are accurately located, and the elevation facing the shelf path. This is gonna be this decision is gonna be the norm for that area. My primary concern was the overall structure being out of proportion with the guidelines. However, it's already been approved, so there's nothing to be done there. Thank you.
Okay. Val, you are okay with it. Johnny?
Yes, I have this drafting error. I put this in here to see what it looks like, a short one, because I'm confused. You've got one here coming down, it's not here.
We're cantilevering it with a beam. We're not.
I'm sorry?
We're just cantilevering with a beam. There'll be no support. Bracket.
No, but they're here.
Dick from this wall.
Yes, they are, but
How-
you'll
does this-
recall the discussion with the abutter. She didn't want anything underneath
Okay.
the bottom of that, so we decided to cantilever it.
That's existing, right? Yeah, they're not there, okay? Okay, I'm just curious about that. Whether-
It was
Because
suggested
looking at
by
both
the
of them.
HTC suggested it.
I'd like to see those elevations, if not, one way or the other.
You'll recall, she didn't want anything
Yeah.
underneath that,
Oh,
so
I just
we
sure.
were cantilevering steel.
I just worry about the angle of it walking in there, It's
I
gone
would
now.
like to see them back as well. I think it's visually,
Well, put them back, it's up
I-
to you.
well, right now we don't have approval for it, so.
Just curious, I saw them. Thank you.
The other question I have for you is, Steve made the suggestion last time that if we move the building back somewhat, that we would, remove the floating door and it would be a simpler construction. Have you got any answer for that?
I asked the owner if she would consider simply removing that door, and she said yes, she would consider it. The front door was only there by tradition of the HDC. If you accept the side or west door as the entry without a front door, she would be glad to eliminate that confusion
What,
with the window. The front
and this door, this building here,
has one as well.
it doesn't have a front door.
It does not either. It does have a front door, but
Is
it's
that
also,
it?
it's also without a stoop, both, just like this one.
Right. So,
But Nathan, excuse me, how high up is that?
About
It's
the
not-
same, about
3
3
feet?
feet above grade, yeah.
Really?
It's, I've always thought, that's a Jenny Shakespeare design from years, about 25 years ago.
No,
And I always thought it was kind of odd when I walked by it,
I
but
agree.
it's, and I think the
Not to
owner,
interrupt, but
I think the owner would be glad, I believe she would say, if it helps with the approval to make it a window instead of a door.
I would be against that.
yes, and my suggestion, that was, just to be clear, that was not my suggestion.
I know your suggestion was to push,
I
That's-
liked how you parried with the response, that was good, but I just wanna be clear, that wasn't my suggestion.
the suggestion to move the building was not
Yeah,
something that she wanted to do.
but, I mean, to be clear, the building is being picked up, so it wasn't to pick up a building and move it in order to create a step, it was, the building is being picked up, move it back and
But
address it.
it is an extra trick, as you know, to move the
Sure.
building. It's not just picking it up, to move it, being sandwiched between the buildings as it is. Tuscan has already told them that's an extra trick.
Yeah.
So they only want to pick it up, and she does not care to move it back. Thank you. That's what she said.
Completely understand.
She may lose this balcony. We don't know. As I said, ZBA still has a decision to make here.
the balcony on the front,
The balcony on the front is not blessed by the ZBA yet. It's not.
is hanging over.
It is over the property line, so it's part of the ZBA, will be part of their decision.
Okay, so, what is your pleasure on having a motion to approve it, to,
Steve made a request for some further studies, drawings, right?
If, that would be my motion would be to, review additional information, and that additional information would be, a streetscape study drafted, 1/4-inch scale, showing the, 2 adjoining structures, their massing, and window and door locations.
Showing the 5 buildings, you said?
Yeah, so it'd be, I think I originally said 4, but yeah, 5. So 2 on each side, I think would be appropriate.
okay, so if we have a motion to hold for revisions, and,
But that's a motion, I don't know what you guys wanna do.
well, yes, Johnny,
I agree with Steve's comment. I think once you get it finalized and laid out, you know, all 5 of them, it would make a difference somehow.
right,
I agree.
so we would make, the motion would be to hold for revision, and that, Nathan would
Revision.
supply the requested material.
So right now, we're holding for that streetscape,
Right,
not necessarily for the revisions.
right.
Okay.
So all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Right.
So our next one is, 28 Evergreen Way.
He's not here?
He's not.
Motion to hold number 9 for representation.
Okay. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, the other is, the NHA.
Good evening.
I,
Good evening.
Oh, God.
Welcome, guys. Alright,
How are you?
getting there.
Yeah. Hey. See you.
All right. Here is what Hashtag has to say. Prefer green space, too much brick in the area, more impermeable materials, flood zone. And that was the full board, except Mike wasn't there.
You want to add brick, yeah, add brick. Here, some of that, or all of it.
that's right.
All of it is a 30 by 9 spot. So all that's in that picture, I think, is.
So front.
Excuse me, we need your names for the record.
Yeah, Chris Canty.
Okay.
Ed Rudd, RUDD.
Would you like to give us an explanation of why you're filling in the planning space?
Sure, there's a few steps to it. One is that the ground there, the windows are right at dirt level, so it's rotting out the side of the building. Two is that we're trying to make it more of, so people, instead of being on the bench and looking at all the buses that come now, at least there's sort of semicircle around, so they're sort of looking at the museum and other people.
Like a trash collector.
And the other thing is that it's just a complete trash collector with the bushes there now. So we wanted, the bushes have gotten old and gnarly, so we wanna take the bushes out.
Well, we could put in two bushes.
Yes, but also having the brickwork there, we would soften the two sides with planters.
Okay. Do I have a board?
It has not been heard yet,
Okay,
so.
so it's the full board.
Everybody.
TJ?
I'm fine with it, with the brick going into the planter.
Okay. Val?
Is there any way to sort of just build that area up, like, with, I don't know, a curb or something,
Well, you wanna
to keep it from flooding and,
pitch the brick away from the building.
well, no, I don't disagree with what HSAB said. I would miss myself having some, natural life around this building. It's just a big, solid mass of brick.
Yeah, so the,
And if you are proposing some sort of planter, I think we should have something on that so we can hold you to it.
I think there's some there now, right?
Yeah, these
Yeah.
little square things though,
we were looking at doing shallow, like,
Let the commissioners finish speaking, okay?
okay, yeah.
I think it's okay to reduce the amount of planting. I'd just like to see some planting though.
Johnny, what have you got to say?
Yes, Mr. Hedden, does the application state what type of brick they're gonna use?
I would assume some ash.
S&H's, I think, are there.
Excuse me, I'm here to look.
Yeah, it'd be Styles and Hart.
I'm sorry?
Styles and Hart?
Are they putting it upside down?
What did they
Yep.
say?
Oh, okay.
Too much
So,
brick.
okay.
Too much brick.
Thank you.
So you don't, yeah.
Thank you.
Too much impervious surface in a flood zone.
And too much brick, it's not the city of Boston. Steve?
I guess my concern kind of tracks Vale's to some extent. I would suggest that, if you could do, extend the brick in, maybe you have brick on the back side, and what that does is at some point, I don't know how far away from the structure, maybe a foot, maybe two, slightly pitches in towards a surface level opening that's slightly lower for at-grade planting, so that basically you could extend your brick back, you'd have brick in the back along a full length, and then you would have, similar to your brick curbing here, you would be able to put a bedding in and you could maybe plan it out with something low or not, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. The idea isn't so much that there's be big tall plants in front of each window blocking them, but that there would be some type of green space there, as opposed to having a large brick space. Just a thought. The planters, I think, my concern is that they just, I don't think they do the structure justice. I don't think they do the design of the building justice. That, you know, this is, if you were to put in some type of a small, and I'm not suggesting, I suggested something simple because I'm trying to be budget conscious. But the other option would be that you would do the same type of a planter, but it would be its own bench. You would have drainage away from the building. You could have a planter that is a raised planter that is made of brick, and it actually serves as a bench. It's just, the building has such stature that either something simple that makes these planters go away, I think is completely appropriate, or another alternative that actually invites you to come and sit and interact with the natural environment in that area.
So you're suggesting putting a little height on it, some height with a bed?
I personally would think that you could do something there. If you were to inset your brick and then you were to do some type of a brick built up for a planting area, and it was wide enough that you could sit on the edge, and it also, the trash aspect, you know, I'm trying to be cognizant of that. That's not the simpler solution, it's not the cheapest solution, but it also, but it would get it up, the plant material up off the ground, so you're not getting trash stuck in there like wrappers from the ice creams and all the rest of it. So it seems like to me there's a couple of options. Those are just two suggestions. And they support the concept of more brick, but also having some green space there.
Okay, thank you. I have an opinion. What material is used in the construction of the white building? Is it wood?
Yes.
Okay. And it sits on a wooden sill, not on a metal sill, so that's why it's rotting?
That's right, at ground level, yes.
Okay, well, if you put 2 rows of brick up to the building and out, that would give you a water dispensary. It could go down. I don't know what you plan to do with, if you brick it in, the water's going to go somewhere. I don't see any drains or anything, and that is an area to know. I think bricking it all in is not what Main Street Nantucket is. It may be better for you because the rubbish is easier to pick up and that stuff, but as a member of the HDC, I don't really care whether it's easier for you to not. I don't think we should look like it's in the city of Boston, which is what you're doing. If you came out the 2 rows or 3 rows of brick, you've got enough area there to make a dirt that is not impervious to the water, that the plants would grow. I think these planters that you have are trashy looking. It should look a little luxurious. It is our old Nantucket museum, and it shouldn't look like a commercial semi-use building. I think that the planting has to be much more understood. I think the planters have to be better conceived. I don't think that you need to come out with any more brick up to the sidewalk if you're trying to stop the building from rotting because it has wooden sills. Then I would brick in there, go up if you have to, come down 3 rows of bricks, and then do something about the facade. It does not fit in with the building across the street on North Water Street, the Hermitage House that's gone to high construction of planting, and the building is marvelous looking. Even the town building, where this poor old bunch of plants. You don't just rip out plants because they're old. You either do something, trim them back, or give them vitamins or something then. And come up with some new planters and come up with a new facade that is Nantucket facade, not Brookline. That's what's my opinion. So, I would like to propose, revisions, but anybody can come up with a motion.
May I just ask, do you guys have any questions on direction in terms of what the feedback is before we make a motion? I just wanna make sure we.
No, I guess, well, like the trash stuff, that's tertiary.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what we were looking at was trying to make more of a place for people to sit around at than just those chairs right there that are facing the bus. You have the bus fumes there. It gives us a little bit more space. Obviously, it gives us a little bit more window space too.
Mm-hmm.
And it protects the building. Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's dead of winter, the photo, and the bushes do get trimmed back all the time, so, you know, it looks beautiful in the summertime. We were just trying to make more of a space for everybody who comes down there.
Okay.
I liked Steve's suggestion though, of trying to incorporate some kind of a planter with seating, cause it kind of is a win-win.
Or make it, you know, subgrade, so it's below the brick, it's just a planter in the brick, but slightly below it. I mean, there's you can use cleft or other plant material that will take the flat roots and stuff. My suggestion is if we're gonna send it for a revision, that we would ask you guys maybe to come back with a slightly larger scale drawing that kind of shows what you're thinking about in terms of, as you've said, some seating or other things, just to kind of paint a picture as opposed to just filling in the brick. And if it works with the planters, then that would be great. I think if you're gonna suggest planters, don't suggest planters that are gonna be more temporary in nature, because I think so far you haven't gotten good, you know, positive feedback on that, right? So maybe sidestep that. That would be my suggestion.
And then does it go back to HSAB?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, yeah,
and we'll
HSAB's
send
gotta
it
see
back
it.
to ATAP because they were against the present one.
So what was the motion?
Motion is to hold for revisions to come up with different application of the brick and the planters in the front of the building. That's it. And we will resubmit it to ASAP.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. And you know, the other thing just is, depending on where you put the planters, maybe you're creating a little outdoor space that's not just, or, I don't know, I think there's some opportunity there.
More just
More
brick.
than what
Yeah.
has
Okay.
been proposed.
You might be able to create a little private space in there that's part of the experience of the museum even.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing we were thinking of too.
Not the star attraction by any means.
Yeah, the other thing we were thinking of too is maybe not bricking the whole thing, but leaving the two edges with the plants in them.
Yeah.
That are there now.
You know, the other thing may I just comment is, you might come back with a couple of alternatives.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to be super detailed drawings, you know, do some sketch plans and have us give
Couple
you some
options.
feedback. Yeah, I mean, it's.
A couple different options.
Yeah, if you've got the time,
No.
you know, it'd be better than coming back with something and then have to come back again.
Yeah.
Try and
Right.
go
Couple
up,
options.
up the street, show what's next to the museum. The museum hasn't got the best thing on this side, is parking lot for the SSA. So your visibility is going up the street. So show some of that, it gives it an idea of what the view is from the person sitting on some bench or other.
If the plantings are forward and you create an entry into a bricked area, then you've created a little kind of a private space off of the street, but it is still on the street.
Right.
Boxwood or something else.
Yeah.
Right, you get your drainage. You guys planned it, you can figure it out.
Okay, all right, thank you.
so we see
Okay,
that
our
in
next
line.
one is,
We held that.
I was gonna say maybe you hold mine to the end so everybody else can get out of here.
okay, who else is here? Do we have,
Motion to hold number 12 until the end.
and all those in favor of that?
Alright.
Aye.
The next one is 15 Wood Hollow.
Holding number 12 till the end.
Number 12 to the end, okay.
Yeah.
Do we have 15 Wood Hollow?
Doesn't look like it. 15 Woodhall.
Motion to hold 13 for representation.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And Marmello, Quinn Street,
I think Tori's here.
She's here.
I saw her
Link's
here.
right?
Yeah,
But Tori's link?
yeah,
Okay.
she just
She is
stepped
here.
out.
did I see Joe come in?
Yeah,
Joe
Joe's here.
left.
Good.
Joe left.
Oh, he left.
So are we holding 14 for Tori?
What's number 14? What's happening?
We're waiting for Tori. We thought she was here,
I
but
think
I
she took her
guess
daughter to the restroom.
she's
You
in the
hold it?
ladies' room, so we'll hold for her to come
Hold
back.
14.
She must have gone to the ladies.
Hold 14 for
Because her
representation.
stuff is still here.
Yeah.
The next one is Joe. Did Joe go?
Yep,
That's 20 Brad points.
they can hold that for representation.
Hold number 16 for representation.
And Liam McKay,
Matt's here.
Oh. So what's left after Matt?
then we're going to have
Link and TJ.
Moving.
discussion update on the wind project. We are going to discuss the letter going to the Mr.
Steve,
Oh, thank you.
McNeil.
Which one? No, that we're doing now. Wait a minute.
How's it going?
What? Oh.
Pretty good, how you doing?
I just gave you this.
yeah, but is it an active utility?
No,
Oh,
no,
oh,
it's just, we told him, the NHA came to us on Macy, alright,
Restaurant. That's the name of it?
They kind of had a couple different names. I think they're gonna be, it's gonna be the Gaslight, but I don't know if that's official, so. So, should I go?
yes, please.
All right,
please.
so basically what we're looking to do here is move the door. There's a code requirement for, they're gonna be playing live music here probably like 5-6 nights a week. And so even though it's primarily a restaurant, we're designing to the nightclub standard. And one of the requirements is double 72-inch doors on the front of the building.
The front being on North
Here.
Union
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on the
Matt, let
west.
me just read this quick.
sure.
It's contributing
I texted her.
and they have no,
Madam Chair, I will say, they commented on that with a slightly different, design, which had come in, but
It's slid.
slightly different.
Yeah, the door location, we had it, when we first submitted it, it was actually to the right of the window on that main mass. And that's actually why we held it last week, is because after reviewing with all the different parties, including the owners, they elected to have it located in the middle, which I think actually looks a little bit better. It was kind of off-centered, kind of jammed in the corner, felt a little weird. And so that's the difference between what the Historic Structure Advisory Board had seen when they made that comment to this. So just slid over towards the middle. I looked at actually a couple different door styles, but we thought the 6-panel, I don't know if you're open to other alternatives.
you wanna begin?
I'm not on this one.
You wanna begin?
I think it actually looks better than
Yeah.
what they had seen and commented on. It makes a little more sense as a building to me. I don't have any concerns with it.
Eden,
Was this previously open, or this is new?
It was not, it
Okay.
was, Matt held the
I
changes.
concur with Dale's comments.
Johnny,
Yeah, my question is the railing,
Mm-hmm.
all right, except for the access ramp?
Yep.
What is the, material going, is it just 2x4?
Sorry, it's a 4x4 cedar posts, and then the railings are probably gonna be made out of mahogany. And there's gonna be a subsequent landscape plan coming in, and we're gonna try to screen that as much as possible. The other thing is we're currently applying to the Architectural Access Board for a variance to put the ramp on this side elevation, which the local Commission on Disability has reviewed and made a,
I was thinking where there's at the end of this property, where it backs up to the old water company, that it should, the white fence there,
yeah.
picket fence.
Yep.
Could this be used picket around it?
Um,
Instead of that, whether it's there or not.
I'm not actually opposed to that. My one thought was for the HDC submission is to put only the minimum requirements per the accessibility code. And I would almost ask if that, when it comes in for the landscape plan, that's when we maybe add the picket fence. I mean, I'm not, if you think that's what's necessary, I'm happy to do that. In this version, it's a pretty stripped down bare version. Some of the things we talked about was potentially using some green vegetation to screen it so that really this just looks like, it kind of disappears as much as possible.
Now, where is it on the site?
I did earlier.
Oh, see, right there. It's just not shown here.
That's on
so it is
the,
I
right
didn't see any
there.
casement.
So we're going to get that
1.1.
from Union
I
Street.
didn't see any casements.
Does they now own all the way out to, Cambridge Street?
I'm sorry.
Do they
Check your
own
bank.
Coffins, what was
Oh,
the
they go
Coffin
down, no.
store across from the post office?
Do they own that? No, the NAR actually owns the property.
Owns,
Yeah, this property, and the property line is actually goes pretty much right in front of the building. That's essentially why we have to actually recess that entry in the way we do. That's the way that the previous was the same, the same.
I didn't realize sort of that you had that much room to get that ramp in.
Yeah,
It's right on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
our whole idea with this is basically to have a compliant, it's a 1 in 12 pitch, there's basically, according to the survey, the finished floor elevation to the sidewalk is roughly 11 inches. I think there's a little bit of undulation, and so we may have a little bit of less elevation to navigate. But one of the things we did as part of this renovation is that the entire first floor is all at one floor level, where previously, I don't know if you recall, but the I don't know, the patio area was actually brick. That actually was roughly 7 inches lower than the bar area
Right.
elevation, and then the theater area was a sloped floor. So we've had to actually kind of level it onto one elevation, and so it's roughly 11 inches higher than the sidewalk.
Is
Like-
there a basement in this building?
Partial, yeah, partial. Yeah.
Is the ramp brick? It's just brick, right?
That's the intent, yeah.
Okay.
And again, so Paul Cronin's gonna be coming in with a landscape plan for the patio that'll have all the details of the brick and the edging. We are consulting, I know this is not necessarily under your jurisdiction, but I know it is an area that you're, Diane, concerned with, is that trying to keep the vine, the vineyard, if you will. So they've actually reached out to a couple of specialists to see if they can't trim it back, keep it and or relocate portions of it, because the pergola that's there now is actually very low, rotted. So we're gonna be coming back in, the landscape designer will be coming back in with an application.
I don't know why they grow so well.
Yeah,
I think it's the biggest grapevine on the island,
yeah.
and it just goes, but anybody who knows vines, I don't know whether that guy is still out at the Cisco Brewery or not, but he used to be when they had their vines up on the hill.
Yeah.
The vinery,
Vinery, yes, the vinery has it, this vinery.
Good.
It can be done.
Yeah.
And you could also start
What's
new
that?
ones,
Yeah.
taking the new shoots.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to listen to him.
Yeah, they wanna, they're working on it, so, anyways. So the thing that
Does
we're,
anybody have a motion to make it?
I motion to approve is submitted.
Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry, Matt, I would've done that
Aye.
5 minutes ago.
I don't know where it's, just, I know that's fine, we've been going over it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Did you have her to come again?
I did, I've been going 5, 4, 3, 2.
2, 1. Why aren't you here?
she's here.
Yeah.
Just like that, you snap your fingers. Awesome.
Diane,
No, Diane.
Oh, Diane.
back to number 14.
Victoria.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Short answer, yes.
Wasn't it
The
16?
answer is yes.
Haley, sorry, what was it?
Are we not doing any of your guys' stuff?
16.
So
we're back
let's go
to
last.
number 14.
All right, Terry, tell us what is up.
Okay, so based on our last time before you, they came back with, two,
Hold
They
on
ink-
1 minute,
Yep.
Lori.
no problem.
On this, we've got Cole, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, and Waterston. So McLaughlin, Oliver, and Waterston.
And now Welch, as he was an alternate.
And I don't have to, right?
You're not on, just you're not
Oh,
on
yes, I remember
Not on
this.
it.
It's
Val-
quite a while ago.
Val,
Yeah, it's
can,
been a couple weeks.
I was on this
chair,
Oh,
can I see that, Diane? Diane, that's not the application.
one. This is 3 Union Street.
Yep, you signed that already. That's just a
Oh,
reduced
sorry.
copy. Yep.
all right. So Tori, what changed?
So based on what we spoke about at the last meeting, we had talked about coming in a minimum of 3 feet on either side with the dormer. They've come in 2'6", which is giving them just about 8 feet usable space in the loft area, hoping that that was a step in the right direction. They've removed the awning windows and called for 3/3 double hung to match the one down below on the first floor front elevation. And did this go back to HSAB again since I submitted it?
I don't think so.
Okay. And I did some research on the Sanborn maps. I don't see it on anything, and I went back from 1949 all the way down to 1887. I don't see the building shown on any of those.
So, anybody wanna go, Steve?
Well, did HSAB require it back before we get into it, or?
They didn't require it. I think we had said to ourselves, I made a note that,
The last motion didn't include that. no.
yeah. Another suggestion in talking to the owners was, would you guys like it better if it was on the other side of the roof so
I
that,
think we
as you were-
suggested that.
yeah, they're fine doing that if that would be something that would help increase the chances of getting the dormer.
Yeah, I think that would be more appropriate just in terms of presentation.
Yeah,
The 8 foot, I mean, I guess I'm just looking at the dormer width. I mean,
I don't think we need to just say 6 inches on each side.
Hmm?
I don't think we should give them 6 inches on each
yeah,
side.
well, yeah, and I mean programmatically, it looks like it would work if it were brought in more.
okay,
Um,
to the full 3 feet that we spoke of?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think so. Or, you know, the alternative is to bump out your rate fascias. But I don't know what the architecture of the existing structure of the home is. What is it?
There are,
What's
the little
style
garage?
of the main house?
oh, I don't have photos of that.
Just curious.
It's
Yeah.
a, like, cute little.
It's got a little
looks
porch
like
on
a
it, right?
Victorian,
Yeah.
right on the corner with a sweet little porch. It's
Yeah.
right on the corner.
Flush rakes on the
Well,
gables
that
or?
I can't remember,
I could
but
take a look at that, Steve.
Just curious.
Garage.
this is,
You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
it's- I'm not suggesting they necessarily have to do that, but if they're married to that and build out the,
hmm If we flip it to the other side, where being a one-way street, you're not looking at this dormer as you come towards the garage, would you feel the same details necessary?
I don't think that we, generally give any dispensation for the setbacks from the edge of the building.
Yeah.
No matter who it
Provided
is,
maybe
so
we meet the 3
And I'm just trying to get ahead of,
the most visible view of this garage is when you're coming past Academy Hill and going down that little street.
To that stop sign, yeah.
It's right there.
Yep.
And I think moving that to the other side because it backs up to another, I think, garage structure.
It does, I think there's another structure right there.
It wouldn't be so in your face.
and you, well, I guess it doesn't matter, it's existing. You're not changing the,
Yeah, we're not changing any of that.
okay, because that window appears to be much larger than this window. And when I say much, I'm not talking about 6 feet, but
Yeah, a couple inches,
at
okay.
least a few inches taller maybe, and,
They're not proposing to replace that at all.
okay,
So
just so your
whatever's there, yeah.
stuff is,
they don't match up, yeah, I get it.
you don't get dinged.
But I think if we could get an approval to move it through staff to move it to the other side and go to the full 3 feet in from the corner, from the gable end, that they would be amenable to that.
Is that your motion?
Just discussion.
No, I have no concern. with
And
that.
they're double hung windows, right?
Yes, they're to match the 3/3 double hung on the first floor there.
I mean, I will say that I think the proportion of the dormer, you know, taking it into the 3 feet, I think more so. But I think it's appropriate. I like the detailing of it. I like the fact, when I say I like, I'm saying I think it's appropriate.
Yeah.
The way the casings butt the corner boards, it makes it interesting and it makes it more typical than having a dormer with 2 windows spaced 6 inches apart off center of the mass, so. I would make a motion to approve subject to, putting the dormer on the other side of the structure and having the, shrinking it up lengthwise such that it's 3 feet in from each
Okay, if I
edge.
make some comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McLaughlin.
Don't miss
You were so quiet over there, I thought you already talked.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I have a question on this drawing here. All right, here it's written, to match existing 3/3 double hung.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 2 items down, it says wood awning,
Where?
wood awning, 3024. Now, which
Where
one's
am
it
I,
gonna
where am
be?
I looking at that?
Hmm?
Where do you see that?
Right underneath it where you wrote double hung.
Oh, that was to be crossed out because I told them we had to do the 3/3 double hung per your comments from the last one. So I can correct the drawings on that.
That's crossed off, right?
Yep, crossed off exactly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Little things mean a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
So, just to be clear, the detail I was talking about, I didn't realize it at the time, with respect to the dormer window trim, was the previous submission.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Telephone is such a mess.
Could you start over on that again, Steve?
So this one, which is what you'll end up with, where your corner board is touching your casing when you come in, you're,
Yeah, that's
6
the
inches.
prior submission, right?
right,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the one I was looking at when I made the comment about the detail of how the trim related,
Oh,
the
okay,
corner
got it.
board related to the window casing.
Okay,
So that's what it will look like when you move it in 6 inches.
got it. And that's what you guys would prefer?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, I think would be appropriate, I don't know
Yeah,
what
would be
anyone else
appropriate.
says.
Mr. McLaughlin?
You ready? You haven't said anything yet, I'm just
Yeah,
waiting.
nothing to say, I agree with you.
Okay,
Make a motion.
so, the motion is, Terry, did you get it before?
TJ, were you?
What I got
Yeah,
is
I'm
motion to
good
approve
with
to
this.
staff with the dormer on the opposite side.
Yep.
So it's currently on the north, it'll move
Go
to the south.
south.
Okay, let me change opposite side to the south.
Thank you.
elevation.
I got something hitting me in the head.
Is it Johnny? Okay, and reduce
Other
so
than
that
Johnny.
it is 3 feet from the sidewalls?
Your gable ends.
Gable
As
On the
is
gable ends?
typical.
Per guidelines.
With corner board and window casings abutting.
Corner boards and window casings abutting.
And that'll make sense with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And the dormer switching to
So
the
vote.
other side, right?
Vote on that?
All in favor of Steve's motion?
Valerie, what happened to number 12?
We're going back to it.
That's right.
Thank you all.
We're gonna go back to his now, cause he
Going
held
back
for
to
the end of the
TJ's.
meeting.
Go back to 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you gonna be able to write all that?
I got one board of window casing. One board, window casing, a running corner board.
Come on up.
Two
Stay
on
a
the
while.
You
side.
can help me with my
And
project?
also 3 feet in for
No, I don't have
guidelines.
value on this, is that?
Did you study the guidelines? Because John could use a refresher if you want.
United with my age and memories. Oh my goodness. I love John
Okay. And what's the board on this?
Yeah, Coombs, McLaughlin, and Welch.
Oh, nothing?
Really?
I'll just turn the pages.
So this one was held for revisions a while back. The changes are that I'm keeping the chimney that we were once removing. And I reduced some of the fenestration per the comments last time up in the sunroom. And
Yeah, let me just read what
yeah,
Cash App is,
yeah.
so we can follow what you're saying. It says, it needs history, it's contributing,
I submitted all that.
see south elevation comments. South elevation comments is minus 1 foot between windows, 6/9, 3 windows instead of 4. That's what I got.
Was that the previous?
And that's on the south elevation,
No,
there's
they
3
should have
windows
reviewed.
instead of 4.
This,
This is, January's hash tab.
you sure?
It
No,
says
it's 2/11.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, you said you submitted all the history?
Oh yeah, the original submission, I submitted all that.
So, the east elevation, they must be saying the same thing, that you need a foot between the windows, or a little less, minus 1 foot, and 3 windows instead of 4. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, the idea is we were trying to make it a sunroom, but I do understand the comment.
And this is,
So the proposed south elevation is your top one now, with revised fenestration, and you're keeping the chimney, right?
Yep.
Okay, so who wants to start? Is it all of us?
I'm
No.
not on it.
Except Val.
John's up.
John?
Yeah, you're gonna keep the chimney.
Yep.
And these are highlighted.
Yeah, I'm adding a window there, which is actually gonna be a reused window.
Over here.
Yeah.
This is gonna disappear?
Yeah, that whole deck gets infilled and we've taken the 2/2 out.
But you're making changes here, right? So that's previous.
Yeah, that's
unit,
existing,
okay.
yeah.
I got it, okay, let me get this. You want 3 instead of 4?
The HSAB wanted 3 instead of 4. I like the 4.
Yeah, you got 5 here.
Yeah, I had 5 last time.
It's something different, huh? Okay, no comment.
Steve,
I just wanted to look something up. So,
on your window, on your south window
Mhm.
and your east window, what they're talking about here is separating the windows
Mhm.
and having 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5. It says,
That's the old ones.
oh, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you separate those windows?
I suppose we could. What do you want? Like a shingle course between them?
Yeah, it says minus a foot, sort of, and it calls for it for the east and the south.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
And that's the only thing, right? We're keeping the chimney. Which house?
She's talking about separating
I
those.
said,
Yeah,
Here's the
and
front.
the single space between the trims.
All of them
Near
or
Spring
grouping?
Street.
I'm thinking she means all of them.
And what's the, I'm just curious, what's the interior program?
It's supposed to be a sunroom.
So it would actually, if they were spaced evenly, it would be good. It
Yeah.
wouldn't hurt. Okay. Alright,
that's gonna be a, what,
Yeah,
sleeping
the
porch
windows
or sunken
Yeah.
porch?
12/12, 9/9,
Yeah, I think
all over the place.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve?
Yeah.
motion to approve, John, you gonna make it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Subject
All
to
those in
change.
favor? Aye.
Subject to the separation of the windows,
Yeah,
Okay.
shingle.
Thank you.
I can handle this meeting on my own. Next one like this. Let me do it. This is cake.
Might be you and Kath next week.
This is cake.
So that's good.
And do we have the Marmello application out there still? For 16? Oh
I thought you said the more mellow.
yeah. No.
Marshmallow.
Marmello.
Marmalade.
So early, I'm gonna walk the car back over.
You don't have Diane's $0.70 right now.
Oh yeah.
On the
Yeah,
side.
I got, I,
You
this is
So,
home with
that's-
a temperature of 101.
we've done everything, right?
Val, do you want?
You have.
You got Diane sign me some cents for me?
So,
She's gotta sign that one first.
Okay, those three when she's done.
Do we wanna do any of these other business items?
I would like you just to say a little bit what, on the,
We got the minutes.
Okay.
Get it done.
approved minutes of February fifth.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
and the next one is, I would just like a small update on the Vineyard Wind project, because you don't hear a lot about it, and it's very important to,
Oh,
15
just
foot
closed
wall.
out. Jeez,
Oh, we
hold
got
on.
one. What,
Oh, you finished the meeting?
well, you're here, so it is
Still open.
still only 6:15. Subject
are
to
you
the
running
chair.
this meeting?
I said
Colin?
subject to the chair.
Oh, did you say that?
Yeah, I just did, yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
So don't, she's gonna not only, she's gonna poke me.
So do we have to
TJ,
do
you think a
anything?
foot between the windows
Well, you
or?
held it for representation.
Maybe 8 to 12 inches. I'm not sure I'd put the whole foot in between.
Alright, just, I'd say
6 to,
15. Wood Hollow.
8 plus or minus, okay?
Okay.
So
What
we
number?
don't need to make a motion?
I don't think you need to reopen it, cause you just
Okay.
held
Wasn't-
it for.
Number 15 is here, the representative, so can we do number,
15?
not 15,
What number?
13.
13.
13.
15 Wood Hall, okay.
15?
Guest house. Welcome. Better late than never.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay, we moved pretty quick tonight.
Yeah.
Number, I just,
Is
number
this,
13.
15?
Hey, Coombs, McLaughlin, Welch.
this is the pool house that's bigger than the house?
Yeah,
This is the
Val-
guest house.
Val should be on this.
No, I don't think I was on it, I just opened my mouth.
No, this is actually a guest house now.
Yeah, we changed the name.
Yes, so. Just like the White
It's
House.
bigger than the thing. In height,
It's currently bigger than the existing.
here goes the 22-foot one.
Yeah, and a
Okay, do you have any new proposals to this?
We did, so on the south elevation, we separated the two windows and those front gables. And I think that's the only change. Other than renaming it. And I do have some photos of the ridge poles. It is visible, but not the entire thing.
How does it compare to the main
I
house?
believe it has been suggested that our second building height
missed one.
is 22 feet, not 24.
Cause I took pictures, remember?
24
Yeah, but you
too,
missed-
it's got to
you're
come
not
down.
on January 29th.
Okay.
And, so, Johnny, do you want to begin?
Not yet, no, thank you. I'm looking at the plan.
Steve,
Yeah, I thought we brought the building down last time.
still there at
24.2.
24.
Oh, you know what? It is lower. I'm actually not working on this project, but it does look like the previous submission. It was almost 26 feet, and now it's down to 24.
Has to come down to 22.
Okay.
Secondary building, not a garage, is 22 feet. And how tall is the main building?
I don't have that information on me.
We need to have the height of the main building to see what the difference is. The main building, if it's 21 feet tall, then it would be secondary building, and that makes a problem.
You guys are, if I recall, gonna tear that main building down anyway, right? Or build something new, or,
There's
oh,
a
maybe not.
pool house or something there, maybe a guest cottage that's being moved off the property, and the structure's replacing it.
So is this,
Oh, I
So if you look at the locus, it's the smaller one in the back that this is replacing.
Okay.
Yeah.
so is this gonna be the size was the primary structure or the secondary structure? Not the primary dwelling or the secondary dwelling, but the primary structure or the secondary structure? Do you know?
We were considering it the secondary structure.
Okay, cause then I think Diane's comment is certainly,
Functionally, it would
applicable.
also be secondary.
but if it were the primary, then it could be bigger, right?
No, it's not.
If it was primary, it could stay at 24, but then we would have to know what is now regarded as the
Right.
main structure, how tall it is.
So did you catch that?
Yeah, so I need to figure out what that height is.
Yeah, it seems
So-
too large in comparison with what the footprint looks like on the main structure.
It looks like it's twice as big
Mm-hmm.
as
So-
the main structure.
So if this is meant to be the main structure, then the height isn't any concern.
Maybe we could move for more information, like
Actually, you
photos.
can see from the photos, the ridge pools actually do look lower than the main house.
But
I
we
can
have
pass
to
these
go,
around if you want.
we have to have drawings that show this. We can't
you can
say
show
it
it.
looks that way.
Can't find that one.
Yeah, I viewed it. I'm actually okay with it as it is. I know I'm the outlier on it,
I will just say it is visible.
Yeah, it is
Maybe.
visible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's visible from
And if it is
everywhere.
the secondary structure, that's a really hard precedent.
but can you also bring, if you're gonna come back, you bring the height of the two neighboring structures that you have images of?
We do have pictures, don't we?
Sure.
Yeah, she just submitted.
I mean, we know we need to know the height of the structure that's on the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be
Tall.
interesting to know what the other ones are, if they're
Here, Steve.
primary or not?
And
Sorry,
we
I
need
don't.
to know the length of this building. There's very few
That might be on here. Oh, it's
figures
not.
on it.
Okay.
This looks huge.
I mean, this building, this is the existing structure on the building, on the lot.
Yeah.
There's two.
That seems,
So
taller
if
than
you look at
24
the
feet,
front
yeah.
photo with the white van in the driveway, the roof you're seeing is the existing, or even this one too with the chimney. So that's existing. That's staying.
What's she talking about?
this one.
What did she say?
This one is this one, which is staying.
Right, so
Yeah,
it's the one in the back that's being
so-called primary,
replaced.
right?
Right, and then this one is gonna be just, I have it in my little pad at this point. Sorry. This was in a, okay, so that's what I thought, that was my recollection, is that this is actually further back on the lot. So with respect to the presentation, you're gonna see what you're gonna see of this structure above the scrub, but less of it because it's actually further back from the street.
That's the new structure you're talking about.
From
Well-
Chuck Hollow, you got a full-on view of it.
Right, I understand that, but from both locations, this is further away from the street than the existing building is.
It is.
So what we see of this building is more of what we'll see of the other building, because the other building is further away from both streets. So what we'll see is above the scrub line because of the angle of view from the public way, we'll actually see less. We should be seeing less unless they revise the rules of geometry of this building because it's further away from the road.
You will that way, but when you're standing right here, it's wide open.
So that, I actually have that photo, that view as well. It's the last page in that packet. You
That's
can
the same view
hardly
you just
see.
gave him.
Same thing.
This is the
There's-
main
See the
house
photos?
right here, isn't it?
Three
See,
different
can I
views.
see
Yeah.
those?
Of these, sure.
Either one.
So the view that you're looking at now is actually the neighbor's house.
I'm not on it, but I think that this is a dangerous precedent.
We need to have
Is that your
drawings
comment
that
from the
have
public?
more figures on it. We need to know how long it is. We need to know how wide, tall it is. It is, has to be 22 feet. I believe that most people talking about it will hold with our rule of height of a secondary building. I would like to have the square footage of the main house and the square footage of the pool house. And we need to have hardscape or some sort of drawings of what you are going to do to make some of this hard to see from different streets, because you have 3 streets that surround this. And it is, I have no problem seeing the top of the house, there's nothing wrong with seeing the top of the house, but this pool house is, it shouldn't be visible because the whole thing is not what we usually consider a pool house, which is supposed to sort of feed the pool, not become a secondary place. Okay, you understand?
Okay, yeah, but we did change it from a pool house to a guest house. So we are considering it secondary dwelling, but I'll get all that information.
Okay, the other thing though I'd like to add is I'd like to get just, I'm gonna stand by my points unless I'm proven wrong, which I'm happy to be proven wrong, and if so, then I'll adjust. But I'd like to get clarification so I know for certain where, what I'd like to have done, please, is on your locus, is to label with a letter or an alphanumeric
Okay,
where the picture's taken from,
okay.
like pretty accurately,
Yeah.
so that I can make sure that what I was saying is either true or not. Because if it's not, then I'll change my position, and if it is, then I won't.
Okay, do you want me to show you right now where they're taking from?
No, just, I mean, you're gonna come back, so you might as well just put them on there, and then everyone has the benefit of looking at
Right, okay.
it. And if there are other pictures that you can take and place on the locus with a letter, and then the
The more
respective
information
letter
you-
on the picture, that'd be great.
Give us the better we can, better
Does that help
decision
you
we
at
can
all?
make.
Oh, that is good, yeah.
I mean, maybe I think I got a fever, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but.
Johnny?
So,
Oh, here's my picture.
can I have,
Does Johnny have any?
I have a comment.
oh, John,
Yeah,
yes, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I thought we asked you for a comment.
No, I said I was studying it, yeah.
Oh, all right, sorry.
All right, one thing I wanna say, I rest my case, for years I've said, no matter where you are somewhere, 90% of the second floors are visible, half-mile away, both of them. So you can, visibility of second floors, I've always been consistent in that. Anyway, I find it the south elevation as proposed, right here, this one here. All right, it's over fenestrated, got way over 50% of glass on that one elevation. So you gotta cut something out of here, drop it down. The other 3 aren't too bad. There's nothing with a lot of glass. And I think, what is the description of the E window?
The last sheet with the 4 plans. Oh, you know what, she doesn't have it on here.
Back and forth?
window.
Okay, there
Yeah, it looks like
is
it's not in the schedule.
one. All right, there's no description of that one.
Okay.
And that is you have 1, 2, and the F windows are
F windows are on there.
Anderson Fiberx composite, but is it, F windows, are they fixed?
Yeah.
Okay, it should say fixed on them, in the future.
Okay.
Cover it, A lot of things are missing, that's why we're here. The other comment was, D window. D window, is that fixed?
Yeah. I actually don't know which windows are.
Yeah, the things are missing, which is why we're here. There's no E window, no E. And-
So add
Yeah,
window
I
types to
don't
your
see
schedule,
any.
please.
Huh?
I asked her to add window types to the schedule.
Okay,
Yeah.
and my opinion of what is going to transgress here, I would say is the cupola should disappear. I don't think it's appropriate for this style. And it's not a farmhouse, this is a home. That's why I find a lot of opposition towards it. Thank you.
So, what are we doing, a motion to hold for revisions?
Yes.
So moved.
All
in
those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks. So on the minutes, Terry, did you get the comments on the 7th that I sent?
On the what?
On the, for
yeah,
the
yeah.
review 7th and the 9th?
So when they go out again on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Back to the main project.
Val will just tell us that the, what, about.
Oh, I think Steve should report on Vineyard Wind, cause I'm on an anti-wind campaign.
Oh,
And you're
okay.
on a,
Let me put my 2 cents in, cause I am sagging. I was here for the meeting about Upper Main Street with Mr. McCain, who is the DPW head. McNeil, whatever his name is. There were many people, there's a whole bunch of notes, but basically, my first bitch was, worked with the Macy warehouse, agreed to their design of the sidewalk in front of the warehouse, reusing the heavy pieces of stone. There was nothing mentioned of going up Straight Wharf, widening that street, whether it needed to be widened or not, that's not a problem. He did all this stuff without asking, without saying, without informing us or anything. He did all the way up to the Pacific Club. Ginger Andrews was there. She was not a happy camper because they also did the same thing in front of the Pacific Club. And she is not only a member of the Pacific Club, but she is an officer of the Pacific Club. And she feels that it should have been brought out. It says in our charge, I believe, although it has been substantiated that it's true, is that the town is supposed to review with the HDC plans, so they don't put purple bicycle racks down on Main Street. They did not, or they did not require Mr. McNeil to do it. So, then we get going up Main Street. he wants to start just north of the bank and rebuild the street using impervious tar, whatever, sand, stone dust, and then the cobblestones. It was suggested to him that this was not perhaps a good idea because when the street gets warm in the summertime, the impervious tar gets soft and it's going to move. That's number one. Number two, it's also suggested an impervious surface means the water is not able to get down. So the water is going to go crashing down Main Street, down to the Pacific Club, because that's where it is, where there are 3 drains, one in front of Nobby's, one in front of the Pacific Club, and one around the corner. Not a good idea. We requested, and he said he would do it, and there's supposed to be another meeting this month, that said he would put sample roads out at the DPW, with the starting one is the impervious, the other is the old fashioned, and there's a third one that he's come up with. So that, then I mentioned to him about the trees. I said, if you put an impervious surface down and you put an impervious surface under the brick, how are the trees going to get watered when everything is impervious to water going down and they need a lot of water? So we hacked around that for a while, and he said, well, he would make a circle and put organic dirt in it, and that's about as useful as nothing. So I said, why don't you make a wrought iron little fence that protects the trees and lets the roots come up and then straighten out more as you go past the root. And he said, well, you can't use wrought iron. And I said, every fence on the way up there's got wrought iron one way or the other, so what do you mean? And then there are 3 exits, cuts in the curbing, none of which go across directly to each other. 2 of them are drains, because you know as you walk up, take a look, they are drains from the house and they go under the sidewalk and out into the street. He didn't have any answer. That's sort of coming up next, I guess. The person by the name of Hillary Raycord, I think her name is, she lives up on Main Street. She was very upset because they don't want Upper Main Street to look like Lower Main Street. She and actually David Barrett called me today, and 2 taxi drivers have sliced their tires in the last month on that new curbstone that he put in on Straight Wharf. Where is the old curbstone? Where is the softened edge curbstone that came from there? Is he throwing it out? Is he selling it? What's he doing? Where is it and why wasn't it put back in? There was nothing about putting in knife sharp curbing like they have out at the airport. So that's the curbing, the thing. I mentioned to him, I said, we should put a weight limit on going up Main Street. He said, oh, that's against the law. Chief Pittman says it's against the law. I spoke to the people up at the DOT, and there are ways of getting around that particular rule. If you say no more than 24,000 pounds, it is against the law. But if you say the size of a such and such truck, it isn't against the law. And there isn't a street you can't get to Main Street to drop off stuff if you have to. But those trucks are destroying because they go battle-assing up. They hit the monument,
Up by, yeah.
and that's ridiculous, and he wants to raise the sidewalks. But it's not up to him to make every house on Main Street handicapped accessible if it's a private house. So he's got to solve the problem of how to avoid the roots. He can't cut the roots. And so this is how we left the meeting. We were here until, we came at 6, left at 8-ish. And as I say, there's a whole page of the notes. It would be good if we read them, because I think primarily our first thing is he should have done what he was supposed to do. And if it costs him money or whatever to redo it, those old curbstones should go back, not sharp new ones.
Like, if he's not held accountable by any entity in the town, you know, we're salmon swimming upstream here.
Right. So.
But, and to me, Main Street is penultimate in keeping it.
It should be your purview.
Right.
Right, what do people do when they get here? They're looking for the cobblestone streets and the brick walkways. There aren't 5,000 people walking up Main Street up in that upper area. They walk downtown, that's fine, but they don't. And if they can't learn to walk on bricks, then they shouldn't come. That's what I think.
Diane, I'm thinking this year is reference to sending a letter. And if we send a letter, in my opinion, we should tell the selectmen we want to meet with them and the DPW manager, and before nip it in the bud, before
Right.
something gets moving, you know?
Well, he's supposed to have these walkways and streets put together by summer. And then he'll run his trucks out there over it. But I feel strongly also, as Johnny does, that we've got to stand up for our rights, otherwise we've lost.
There's no point to any of it.
Right,
There's been too much modernization of the downtown area already,
right,
you know? But if we send a letter, we should mention in there that please do not start any work without getting a permit. The law requires any construction has to have a permit.
right, that's,
So,
But
we
I
got to-
thought it's somewhere along the line, and it may be not with this DPW director, we were told that they don't have to come to us.
the original sort of fight was about that, you're right. But it was when Paul Durensis was lawyer, not this guy. It was shown that it says in our charge somewhere, we can find it, that the Board of Selectmen is supposed to confer with the HDC. And the way they went around proving it is that the Board of Selectmen stands up for the HDC when there is when one of the people
Appeal.
argue against what we have decided, they listen. So they're part of what we do, we are part of what they do, and they can't ignore part of it and not all.
I thought someone submitted a letter to clarify one way or the other what the law was and the case law on this. Didn't you send a letter that someone had forwarded?
Yeah.
I don't
there's
remember
the-
what the outcome was,
The
but
ruling of the Martins Lane curb cut case where the judge ruled that the HDC didn't have purview over what happened in the public way.
they had purview over, we
But
couldn't say
over
yes
the
or no.
driveway, you could say no to the driveway.
But we
on
could say
the
yes or no
property.
to the material, but not whether they could put a driveway there.
You couldn't comment on the curb cut
Right.
because it was in the road and it was not on the person's property, so you can't.
Meaning it's the DPW.
It's not. It's like you'd be.
I thought it said though that
Say
you
you had
could do
like
the
a driveway easement and you had a patio on somebody else's property or something.
Right.
You can't approve something else on someone else's property if there's not an application for it for what this person's applying for.
Right.
That's the way that I see that, so.
I thought it said though
Um,
that we could rule on materials, but not on whether or not you could put it there. So like you could put a curb cut someplace, subject to the zoning bylaws. But the HCC could rule on what the materials were.
Right, basically.
Well, so I guess I'm confused. I don't know why we spend every Tuesday night sitting here if the very entities that we are involved with in the town don't hold any stock in what,
Well, I mean, may I,
yeah.
on that, I suggest that we're not looking to be confrontational, that we're trying to get to, you know, clearly our charge is the commissioners is to be protecting and preserving the historic district and the architectural elements and all those things that make Nantucket a place that is a travel tourism industry for preservation. I mean, I was just reading in this book a scrapbook from 1957 to 1966, and it says 125,000 people come here each year to see this untouched operational town. So whatever that means, I guess, I do have a little bit of a fever. I'm just saying, we want to balance what our charge is with what needs to be done and find a way to make it work. So that if there is handicap accessibility, it's done in a way that's sensitive and observes the historic traditions. And I think that would be my suggestion as we approach a letter, if we're gonna send a letter to the select board, we're saying let's sit down at a table and resolve how we might approach this. Unless they feel that there's not, you know, I guess.
I'd rather, do you think maybe find out how they feel? They may already agree with us.
I doubt it.
I don't know, I mean, we're talking about a letter to the select board, so I'm just saying if
They're more
I'm just
interested in
suggesting we're
straws.
inviting them to discussion and saying this is our way of doing it.
No, we should
'Cause I don't think
discuss it
that's
with them and
appropriate.
get McNeil here to, discuss it too, because I think changing the curbstone, you will be surprised how many people have caught me. And I've been sick in bed for 3 weeks, about that curbstone, and 2 taxi drivers cut the thing, and I asked him about that, and he said, oh, well, nobody comes that close to the club car. It's right, it's the piece these guys were complaining about was right in front of the club car. Why did they take out the old stuff?
Well, so the suggestion, so I was at that meeting too, and what they said, I think, was basically some of it broke, which, you know, I guess happens, and some of it is based on the height that they needed to create with the sidewalk, wasn't tall enough to actually be structurally secure in the ground, which I understand. And then I think it was said that you asked the question, you were there too. I think it was said that the materials were kept out at the DPW yard for reuse in other areas around the town. The thing that I would suggest, because I looked into it afterwards, is you can buy antique granite that's not terribly more than brand new,
Which he said he
flush
couldn't.
cut. Well, no, but he may not have known, but there are some places that are salvaging it from communities and towns that are not preserving.
What is
May
so
I
hard?
finish, please?
No, yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. That he may not be aware that there's a source of that regionally. There's somewhere north of Providence or Hartford or something. So maybe that's what I'm trying to say in terms of a discussion is, I don't necessarily think we have to sit down with the select board to have a discussion about it, but you know, if we sit down with the DPW director and have a discussion and say, have you looked into this? And maybe he's looked into it and it doesn't make
No,
sense
he
because it
hasn't.
costs too much money. I don't know, but it's about having the discussion so we get better informed and we can kind of see where we are. Not
I
they
have
come in
asked.
and they say one thing and then we talk at them and then we don't get anywhere if we're just talking, because we've been talking about this for what, 9 months?
Mhm, quite a while.
So I'm just trying to encourage that we try to
Well, I think in a
get.
meeting out of it, it wasn't very.
What about at the Macy warehouse? They said they were gonna put the same stuff down. It
Right.
doesn't look the same.
It isn't. But I asked somebody who happens to work at the DPW that I know that says, hi, can you find out what the name is of where we get the curbstones? The new ones used downtown. So that is being looked into because I'm just sure that people who make curbstones will make it antique, soft edge curbstone. So and if he doesn't know where it is, that's dumb as head of the DPW.
I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's
You want
productive.
me to be nicer.
Well, you know, we all live here. Let's try and work it out.
Then he should have asked us before he went ahead and did it.
I'm not defending anything. I'm just trying to come to a solution. You know?
Fire.
Yeah, that's not appropriate. So I don't know about the letter or anything like that. I was just trying to come up with, and I think, you know, we should have our board here. I'm just an associate.
We'll have our board.
When you're
I just
talking
wanted to
about
bring
that
it up
stuff.
as to, I went to the meeting. There is a whole page of notes. It's a good thing to read. We need to continue with it. When Ray gets back and we all talk about it, we'll put it together.
And I just want to be clear that I support your enthusiasm and vigor.
Oh, thank you for your cheery note. It did cheer me up a lot.
Diane?
Yes,
I'd like to give my 2 cents worth on this letter. Now, right now, it is active here at this meeting. It's this discussion. It's legal. All right. Now, I'm thinking that if, you know, we better move quick on a letter. And I feel very strong about it because once whoever's in charge of DPW starts to tear something up, you're gonna have to get an injunction to stop them somewhere in court order or something. I don't know how it goes, but the point is, we've got to stress the fact that we gotta meet with them first and discuss all this of don't do anything until you get a permit.
Right.
That's important. So I was thinking, if we can continue something from this meeting to Thursday, because it's already on the agenda, am I right?
Yes, it's on Thursday.
Okay. I think, my own opinion now, so we can get all 8 members together, maybe Thursday, when we gotta open Thursday, this Thursday's open. Sit down and discuss the whole thing, get everybody's opinion, and you can make up a letter out of what you hear, you know, or your own opinion, but I think we should move on this. But every time we wait, well, not this Thursday, not next Thursday. I got
Because
things
the
to do.
other members aren't gonna be here Thursday.
Well, the point is, then you call an emergency, and you let this go by and call an emergency meeting of the Historic Districts Commission, advertise it in the paper.
When's Ray back?
And
I'm not sure.
then you have to admit the public on all meetings, but not that I don't care about that, we should discuss it. But we've got, in my opinion, we gotta move.
Well, we're moving,
we're
John,
dead
we're
all the
moving
time.
as fast as I can get him to have a meeting. He's promised to have another one in March, we're almost in March,
Yeah,
and we've had one in February. We had a 2-hour meeting, we had a whole bunch of people, I don't know how many people were here, but there was a fair number of people.
Yeah, it was pretty good sized crowd. I mean, it was like a busy HTC meeting night.
well, as I say,
And I am working on it as fast
Right.
as I can, and I take more of the blame or the stuff than Ray would have to as chairman, so I'm working on it as fast as I can.
Yeah, and my comment about us taking a long time is not on anyone. I mean, we're a volunteer board and we're doing the best we can with everything we got. So I just want to be clear, I wasn't suggesting anything other than saying it's a process and it takes time.
Right, it's what.
Yeah, just so you know, I
He
mean.
can't do it, he can't do any more as far as I know, and I get it firsthand what's happening. As I get any stuff firsthand that nobody else knows, I'll let you know.
Sounds like
my further comment, how often do we get a Tuesday night meeting that all 8 members are here? No, that we can meet, or on a Tuesday or something, you know? you can, you know, but actually, the better, the quicker we send that letter, the quicker that letter can hit the newspaper, all right? And that'll fire the people up about what's going on downtown, and you know, and each week we go by, a little, one member's not here, one member's not here, goes on and on, you know?
This is,
So
this is school week, school holiday week.
Next
So,
week.
Next week.
next.
John, there's
week?
no,
Yep, for
no,
Nantucket, yep.
Ray's away, Abby's away, Jesse's away, I think until March. I don't know for certain.
I think Abby's away for all of February.
Yes.
She'll be back in March.
They're studying architecture. Abby's in St. Augustine studying architecture.
Uh-huh, sure she is.
Yeah. And,
how about a consensus of the board? Do you feel we should have a meeting as soon as we can, even if it's an emergency meeting?
well, we're here now, so if we're gonna have a meeting, I would just suggest we have it now instead of getting
I
together
tried.
again. I personally don't feel comfortable without. Look, this is a issue that's not just about a standard, it's politically charged, and I think
We have to
the
know how
elected
to do
officials
it
should be
right,
here involved if that's something like that's to be going on.
and we have to know how to do it right, as you will see the importance of doing it right with Nantucket tipping. They did it right and it worked good. You screw it up and you don't get anywhere. Give us a little time. I have been
It is important.
sick in bed for 3 weeks.
All right.
This is my first time out, except for when I had to go to the hospital and spend 9 hours at the ER. So I'd like to go home now. We can put it on the agenda for next Tuesday to continue,
Yeah, yep,
and
and the chairman will be back and
he'll be back and we'll continue. I'm sure that Abby, if we have to, we can text her, email her, and say, what do you feel about this, having a meeting about this? I'm sure she will agree with us, okay?
If we continue this till next Tuesday, that's fine, keep it on the agenda. But right now, we should possibly say, in my opinion,
March 5th, she'll be back on.
and what I feel is it's hard to explain myself. We should continue this meeting to Thursday for that one item. We have the right to do it, you know? And we should do it, if all the members can make it, fine, if not, we'll cancel the meeting. But we've got to push and let the others know, we want all 8, it's hard to get us all 8 here. Somebody's going away, someone's in the hospital, you know, it's hard to get 8 people. But something has to move. Now, I can make a motion that we continue this to Thursday, and then see what happens tomorrow. John can contact all members if they can make it. You're talking, go ahead.
I'm sorry I wasn't clear. Jesse, Abby, and Ray are not gonna be here until next week.
So there's
Okay.
They're all
Okay.
away, so,
there's no point pushing it for now. John will keep us informed as when he knows the board will be here as a whole, okay?
So you're gonna keep it on the agenda?
yeah, it can go on next Tuesday and if the chairman's back, then you can describe it, or
So-
discuss it with the chairman and
So-
more
I
commissioners if they're back. Jesse's back, I'm not sure. And
Okay.
then if it continues to Thursday of that week, if more folks are back, then.
Right, then we got it.
You
So they're
said
gonna
he
keep
was
it on
going
the
for
agenda,
2
John.
weeks.
Okay, fine.
Oh, Jesse.
Get something.
I would like to say, can we adjourn? Please. All those in favor, aye.
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 Yes.
Ay, ay, ay.